Still interesting conversations there concerning the presidential jet and the reactions that Nigerians have to the presidential jet. We'll have more conversations this morning. We'll be looking at ASUU and what the impending strike might look like. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, has urged President Bola Tinubu to sign and implement the renegotiated 2009 ASUU federal government agreement in accordance with the collective bargaining principles outlined in the International Labour Organization Convention. Last week, the Benin zone of the Academic Staff Union of Universities decried the non-review of members' salaries after the last exercise that took place 15 years ago.
The union has vowed to escalate its struggle against the federal government over lingering demands, including funding for public universities, revitalization, unpaid salaries, and implementation of the University Transparency and Accountability Solution, UTAS. Dr. Abubakar Shilia, the chairperson, of the University of Maiduguri ASUU chapter, stated in a press conference that a referendum will be conducted within 4 weeks to determine the next line of action, potentially including a nationwide strike. We're joined this morning by the president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, Professor Emmanuel Oshudeke. Good morning, and thanks for joining us, Professor Oshudeke.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right. Let's quickly, ask, have there been any recent talks with the federal government regarding ASUU's demands between the last, strike action and now?
Well, for this regime, for this government, we've not had any formal talk on all the issues for which we were on strike. And we are surprised because one of the people who helped to negotiate the call-off of the last strike is the leadership of this particular regime. And for us, after more than 1 year, and we have written to the president, we have written to the Senate president, we've written to the speaker, and nothing.
Yeah, I mean, Honorable Femi Gbagbe Amila was one of those who facilitated the negotiation with ASUU in the last time. He's currently the chief of staff of the president. Does ASUU feel disappointed, in the fact that he's not been able to convey your messages and the promises that you made to Mr. President?
Well, that is actually what we are talking about, because he was the major intervener that during that strike. It was well known to Nigerian people. All the promises made, and they even built most of those promises to the last 2023 budget. When they came in, nothing has happened in those areas. Through renegotiation of the agreement, which we finished with Nimibri's committee, I'm hoping that they will go back, look at it, and come to sign. Or if their area of disagreement, they were actually before now, they would have said a committee to meet with us to look at those areas of disagreement, and we saw them and sign, and we move on as a country. That's what we saw. Well, that's what we thought would happen, because when the government was, this president was campaigning, and he said there was no more strike in the universities. So we told them, you don't want no more strike in the universities, no more disruption. As soon as they came in, you should have put a high-power team of patriotic Nigerians to meet with the unions, not just us, to look at all the contending issues and then look for how to resolve them. But see, it's more a year now. A year is one quarter of the tenure of the regime, and nothing, not even a meeting. Even when we have written requests for meetings, nothing.
Okay, just so we're clear, because we've seen that there have been a number of strike actions that ASUU has been on, and I know that one of the demands is to implement the Nimibrig's renegotiated draft term. So if you can help us highlight again, as clearly as you can, what exactly are ASUU's demands this time?
The issue for which we are asking government to implement are: one, let's complete the renegotiation. Like we said in other fora, is that in 2009, we had an agreement with the government, and we said every 3 years that agreement will be reviewed. But it's 15 years now, it has not been reviewed. And that agreement indicates the most important thing in that agreement is the issue of salary. If a lecturer still earn the same salary that a professor still earn the same salary was earning in 2009. As of 2009, the salary of a professor is compared between $1,500 to $2,000 per month. But today it's about $300 per month. And you see earn the same thing. And the side effect of it is that many Nigerians, the rich are living, the non-patriotic one, and many who face so disgruntled have left the country. But nobody is coming in to join. So we are putting more pressure on those on ground. So that is number one. Number two, there were issues in the 2009 agreement that have not been implemented. The end academic allowances, that is payment for the work done in addition to your normal duty. Two, the issue of revitalization fund, which we agreed on that the government will put 1.3 trillion in the Nigerian university system, out of which the Jonathan government put in 200 billion, and since then, little or nothing have been added. Then we have the issue of proliferation of universities. You can't fund the university you have, and you are having universities all over the place. We now call them constituency project universities. Who are going to lecture them? Would they allow their children to attend those schools, universities? Will any of those proposing this new university allow their children to attend them? So that is some of the issues for which we are asking government that we should implement. They told us in January that they have removed the teacher institution from IPPIS, but today we are seeing being paid with IPPIS, not implemented, and so forth and so on. So these are some of the major issues for which we have asked governments to let's meet and discuss them and cut a way forward how they can be implemented, and they have agreed to meet with us.
All right, so to be clear, between the last agreement that you had and now, has there been any one of them that the government implemented, even if, not 100%?
Well, there are some that like the issue of salary wage increase, they did in 2009. But in that agreement 2009, we had two tables. One is table A and table B. Table 2 indicated that they will start with that and then move to that table 2, which is African average, which they never did, 2009. Then we also talk issue of revitalization. Like I said, after negotiating, the then president sent up a team called the Revitalization Need Assessment Team to go around all Nigerian universities and look at what is happening. And by the time they came back, both sides agreed that we need to revamp the university system during Jonathan era. Remember, we had a 14-minute meeting with the president then. And that regime released 200 billion. Other regimes want to release 200 billion every year, which they never did. The issue of earn allowance, they were paying, they agreed they will distribute the salary, until now it has not been done. So these are some of the issues that are very germane to our members. And then we also have to say, release the decision panel report, which they released and have not been implemented.
All right, let's talk about what the next steps are. We hear that there's a referendum coming up. What should we expect? Are we expecting a strike indefinitely? At what point or what deadline have you given the government before there most likely is a strike?
Seem to be having a slight issue with the connection there with Professor Emmanuel Oshedeke, the ASUU president. Of course, x-raying the issues the body seems to be having with the current Nigerian government. They, of course, had the longest running strike just a few years ago for 8 months, and then got into agreements with the Nigerian government headed by President Muhammadu Buhari back then. The negotiations, I remember, were chaired or facilitated a lot by the current chief of staff to the president, Honorable Femi Gbagbe Amila.
All right.
Welcome back, Professor Oshedeke.
Professor Oshedeke, what do we expect? We hear that there's a referendum coming up. What should we expect? And do you have a deadline for the government intervention before you maybe go on strike?
Well, we have a 4 weeks deadline. And the idea is that within these 4 weeks, government should do the needful. There is no need for a strike. In other climes, where people love the education, when political leaders have their children in universities within their country, you won't allow people to give you 4 weeks to resolve a minor issue. Let's meet and resolve issues. But here, because their children are not in the universities, their relationships are not in this university, they are using our resources to fund them all over the world. That's why they are not interested. So within 4 weeks, we expect that within the 4 weeks, they should meet with us and so that we resolve this issue for the interest of the children of the Nigerian poor and Nigerian so-called middle class that does not exist. Not because they are children, because they are already abroad. So we are appealing to this government. Let's resolve this issue for the interest of these Nigerian children of the poor who are suffering, who are passing through what ordinarily nobody will want to pass through. Let them meet with us and implement what they have agreed on. The agreement memorandum of understanding, let them implement them.
Yeah, I mean, I also got to see a news report yesterday from the Nigerian Association of Nigerian Students, National Association of Nigerian Students, I beg your pardon, and another body asking that, there should be some, consideration of Nigerian students and Nigerian parents. And so, does ASUU also feel that pressure, that the idea of going back to, on strike might put too much pressure on the Nigerian university and the Nigerian students, and so you maybe should sheathe your swords?
You see, when I hear people talk about strike, I feel it somehow. I don't understand what they are talking. Strike is a symptom of a problem. It's not the problem. I want people to be telling the president, the government that people should resolve these issues, not a strike. We said 4 weeks, go and resolve these issues. So we should not be talking about...
but if the government doesn't resolve these issues, I mean, from what you've said, they made commitments, you had agreements many, many months ago. A lot of them have not been fulfilled. So if the government doesn't resolve these issues, what next?
This is that we should call the government and ask them why the press, our press, should be calling the government, why are you not doing this? Why are you not respecting the agreement? Why are you not taking the children of the poor? That's what we should be hearing, not whether with a strike or no strike. We should be hearing, pressure should be on them to do what is needful. The money they are using is the public money. People who elected them, the majority are these people we are talking about, whose children are going to stay at home. Should there be? And we don't believe there should be a strike. There's no reason for a strike.
Yeah.
In other time, you don't wait for a strike. You resolve the issue. We have been very, very fair to this government. They helped to resolve the issue in 2023. We have been very patient with them. We've given them 1 year to settle down and then this go, but they have not. So the pressure of whether there is strike or no strike should be on government. We are not thinking about strike. We are thinking about the government resolving the issues. And Nigeria should be thinking about Nigeria resolving the issues, not about strike.
Well, we certainly hope that, we do want this to be resolved, Professor Oshedeke, because we can remember that the government and ASUU have been at loggerheads for the longest time. And at the end of the day, it's the university students and as well the academic staff union that suffer as a result of this. So we do hope that you come to middle ground and that there'll be no need for a strike. Professor Oshedeke, thank you so much for your time with us.
Thank you.
All right. This is, of course, Breakfast Central. If you're just tuning in, let's share with you some of the conversations we've had this morning. Presidency insists on new jet as debt profile soars. We had Dr. Marin Dotti join us to talk about this. And ASUU threatens first strike over old salary. Professor Oshedeke says there's no need for the strike. He just wants the government to come to the negotiating table and do its part. NLC absolves Kogi over non-payment of salaries. And that's one of the conversations we've had this morning. But let's share what's coming up next on Breakfast Central.
Coming up next, Nigeria's insecurity is an inherited compromise, says President Bola Tinubu, I beg your pardon. And also the newspaper front pages, what are the stories making headlines across Nigeria. We'll also be sharing with you what Nigerians are saying this morning.